NextGen Economy Podcast, accelerating breakthroughs.
The NextGen Economy Podcast is all about young people making waves in business and innovation. We interview some of the most inspiring changemakers out there who are developing creative solutions to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. If you're looking for a dose of inspiration and some practical tips on how to make a difference in the world, this is the show for you.
Hi, this is Angela Fay from NextGen Economy Podcast. Today, we're talking about exponential individuals. This was inspired by the best-selling book, Exponential Organizations, and asked the question, what would an exponential individual look like? And what would it take for a person to live an optimized, fulfilling life? Well, a project was born between OpenExO, BostonExO, and co-led by Ann Boothello and Patel and Kevin Allen. This ExI project has members who have consistently shown up for Friday virtual calls since March 2021. So coming up to the 1-year anniversary, this is the longest running initiative birthed from the ExO economy, backed by 100,000 seed ExOs for its initial launch. Today, we want to celebrate this milestone, and we're talking to Eric and Ann to tell us lots more about the project. So welcome, Eric and Ann.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having us, Ange.
Thanks, Angie. Great to be here.
So let's talk a little bit about EXIs and the massively transformative purpose and vision of this project. Ann? Eric?
So an EXI?
Yeah. Eric?
Go for it.
Yeah, thanks, Ange. So, we wanted to put together something that was kind of full-brained. And so we came up for our MTP, our Master Transformative Purpose, of making self-awareness and human optimization universal for everybody throughout the planet. So our vision statement kind of breaks that down a little bit. And we've come up with the following. We see a world where people are living wholesome, interdependent, responsible, free, and fulfilled lives across the globe.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. And why now more than ever is this so important, Ann?
Well, I think we're living in a time where really systems are being challenged, right? I mean, all of us are in the space of exponential technologies. We've been seeing massive shifts in the way industries function and the way people operate and people want to work. People no longer want to work just for the need of working. They want to lead purpose-driven lives, and they need to adjust even quicker than they used to before because of these exponential changes happening that we've been anticipating for a while now. So systems are collapsing. There's a lot going on with the crypto revolution, the blockchain revolution, right? So the future of money is being challenged. That's one avenue. But then everything from the way people work and the way businesses are set up, with the emergence of DAOs and, how do you manage teams that are living all over the globe and working out at different time zones? I mean, we're out of 3 different time zones right now, right? I mean, these are all very challenging times. And when I think about the younger generation who are just falling into this whole new way of being, they probably are adapting because this is all they've known. But then you've also got that middle generation that's adjusting from a complete transition, right? And I think that as these systems change, because we want them to change, I think new models are being birthed. I think we need to be able to have these tools to help us optimize our lives. So an exponential individual isn't really someone who's, the term human potential is overused and kind of, I think it's in the personal development space, it can be a little bit daunting, but we're just talking about people living authentically and optimizing their lives during these times when there's great change.
And let's, based on the book, Exponential Organizations, it's a process that has a lot of data behind the validity of the process and how to bring innovation into business organizations. So I'm pretty excited about that. This is a little different because it talks about the individuals. So just a little insight from each of you personally, what exactly is an exponential individual?
Yeah, it's a great question, Andrew. I think we're still kind of piecing it together a little bit, right? And so we started with kind of the first definition from the Exponential Organizations book, right? Where we're trying to say your impact and fulfillment is just really large, right? Could be as much as 10 times larger compared to your peers because of your different thinking, your behaviors, and the action that you take that leverages everything that you have around you in your environment. And so this individual could also harness, as you saw in our MTP, their own internal human potential, right, to be at their best moment to moment. And this is also where an individual could tap into their beliefs, their purpose, their virtues to help sort of steer their life. And so we didn't want it to be just about high performance or high productivity and be almost from an individual exceeding standpoint, because we all know people that are successful, but perhaps aren't fulfilled or happy, right? So we wanted to have sort of both sides of that equation.
And Ann, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's the core. I mean, living fulfilling lives. How can people really find a way to be true to themselves? Because we often look at other people and we think, oh, we need to be more like that, or we need to push ourselves so much harder. And I think this initiative is supposed to allow people to see their range. So what is my range? Where am I at now? And what could I potentially get at? And help them make these conscious choices, as Eric said, like moment by moment. What's this next best step for me to take? And, that is a deep question, and it's tied into bringing the sense of intuition and knowingness about what the next best step is to us, instead of going out into the world and kind of saying, okay, what do I have to live up to? This is my range. These are the conscious choices I'm making. And this is how I'm going to give back to society by showing up authentically.
Now, I didn't prompt you that I was going to ask this question, but could you please share your individual MTPs?
Yep. I'm happy to go. Okay.
Go.
So mine is upgrading society's concept of wealth and well-being. So people can live purpose-driven lives, right? I think those two things tie in hand. And unfortunately, with the inequality and inequity we see in the world, there's been this sense of, I need to always be productive. I need to always be better. And you push yourself to burnout. And we've seen what has happened with, burnout all over the world and the Great Resignation and what have you. And so for me, I think when people can start to see that abundance is really available, if they look at new avenues to tap into that, they can then upgrade their concept of wealth and well-being for themselves.
Love it. Eric.
Yeah. So MTP wise, right, how I'd like to see the world and the people in it, 20, 30 years from now, it really ties in a lot of what we're doing with EXI. And that is just global personal excellence empowerment. Having everybody, as we've been talking about, to live to their full potential, right? Getting out of this autopilot, zombie, cruise control mode that we're all in from time to time, and even moving beyond just doing and taking action, but really truly making an impact, right? We always talk about, how do you want to leave this world, right? What kind of a legacy do you want to leave? Are you doing that now? And are you continuing to do that? And so tactically, mission-wise, I'm here to help others thrive. And I do that through unwavering loyalty, selfless service, and lifelong friendship.
Well, and the friendship part I don't hear very often, and I'm completely enthralled by that. So thank you. And full confession that I have been involved in the EXI project. So it's important that you know that I have a little bit of intel and have respected what Eric and Ann are doing with this project and why I'm so excited about highlighting what's happening. I'll share my MTP as well. It is imagining and building places worth living for. And the reason why I bring it up is because one of my reasons and motivations for being involved in the EXI project is that I believe you need to be an exponential individual in order to make an exponential impact, whether it's in business or in nonprofit or in the public sector. And it starts with imagining the future with all of these new convergences. And it's very, very difficult to do on your own. So that is really what the OpenExO ecosystem is for both me and for others. And then, of course, the building, which is the how. So we have this great idea. How are we actually going to build it? So let's jump into the EXI project. How did we build? How did we build to here? So how did the EXI project come to life? Do you want to kickstart us off, Eric?
Sure. I mean, it was just a simple question, right? As you talked about a little bit in the introduction, is how would this apply to the person, right? Has anybody done this before? And how do we define that, right? And so in pulling together people that we've started to do, over the last year or so, we've done so much work last year, and we're really poised to make even bigger contributions in 2022. But the team really kind of pulled together, did a lot of brainstorming. We rolled up our sleeves, we created canvases, we did mural boards. I mean, there was just so much work that we did to kind of lay the foundation for what I think is going to be an awesome 2022.
And Ann, can you share with us how we actually why are we supported by the EXO economy? How did that come to be?
Well, it was, people getting together, and they were super passionate. And then we just put together a proposal and we said, let's get some EXOs granted, right? And we wanted to keep this project going. And lo and behold, we're almost 1 year up and we're still running, which is super exciting. But just to step back a little bit and touch on the question you asked, said, how did this start? It was literally just a conversation, right? Like Eric and me were having a chat and we just said, well, isn't it individuals that make up everything, right? Like the organizations, but then even let the organizations, like that's one category. But when we talk about our homes and we talk about our friendships, I mean, there's layers to this. And unfortunately, people can show up in an organization and a team a completely different way than they show up in their homes with their families or their friends. And it can be so contrasting. And I think this is a really important point about the EXI initiative is we want people to show up authentically across the board in all their relationships, starting from home and then going out into the businesses they're building, the communities they're contributing to, really be able to show up with love, not just for the ego, but really for love, right? To birth something worthwhile.
And I would like to just thank you, Ann. I would like to also just give a little bit of a deeper explanation to the EXOs and the grant proposals. So OpenExO is a decentralized autonomous organization, a DAO. And for those of you, you might have to go and research a little bit more about what that is. But typically a DAO will have a purpose, a massively transformative purpose, and then backed by capital. And capital in our case is a utility token, and we have our own economy. So it is amazing. And I can't even go into depth here about the depth of the economy, but there is a pool of resources and with tokens. And anybody in the community who has a project that they believe will create exponential impact for the community within the OpenExO or externally can apply for a grant. And the EXI project was successful. The platform that we use as a community is called SWAY, SWAE, and it allows people to put together a proposal and then get peers to vote and comment and offer feedback, and both constructive and perhaps critical if necessary, to get really to better these proposals and get them over the ground and come out of the gates with some momentum and early ambassadors and early adopters to the project. So it's quite an exciting way to get community to commit to a project right away. So talking about that, we're going to jump into what does the future of the EXI project hold, and what impact are we looking to make in 2022? Ann.
So we kickstarted this project with a group of people coming together, talking about what was going on in the world and talking about how they could better their own personal lives. And then it ended up that we started to build out a playbook, right? Like we said, why don't we just put all our collective intelligence and wisdom together and see what we can come up with to help anyone, right, in their life, regardless of where they're at. Started with that, and then everyone got super excited. I mean, and you love to talk about choose your own adventure game, right? And we've only started breaking out into sub teams, but one of the things that we're prototyping is building a game that's going to help people reach this optimized state of self-awareness and self-optimization. We haven't yet obviously put it out there because it is in its initial stages and people are super excited about what we could potentially create there. So the game squad is one sub team that we've created because we want to see what we could do on the gaming front. But besides that, we've also broken out into a sprint group. And I know, Eric, you're leading the group over there, but people are coming together. And what we really want to do is to create an EXI sprint, which kind of mirrors what the EXO sprint is, which is, a 10-week program, but we don't know how long. We haven't defined that as yet, but we're working on the duration of the sprint. And the objective or the intention of this would be to take someone through from start to end this human optimization journey into deeper self-awareness, into deeper fulfillment, and get them out the other end of that sprint saying, oh, okay, now I have some tools I can use to better my life and show up more fully in the world.
Eric, can you add anything to that or add about what the long-term vision is?
Sure. Yeah. So as Ann was mentioning, as you know, Ann, right, like the playbook, we started to kind of piece that together, or sort of an initial draft towards the end of 2021. And we're kind of full metal jacket trying to get that finished in preparation of the sprint. It'll be the second draft, and everybody from the team's been contributing. It's just been incredible. It will eventually be an ebook and probably a book. For now, it's a playbook. I really want people to use it, not just read it and be like, that's nice, but to use it, right? So it's going to be full of like tips and exercises and to-dos, and there's going to be tracking, right? We really want to do a good end-to-end product with this playbook. And as Ann was saying, we'd love to use the sprint to be able to kind of manifest this, right? Galvanize the OpenExO community and other people from really around the world to test the playbook, right? Is this good enough? Are you going to use it? Are you benefiting from it? What kind of an impact can you make in 3 months, for example? So we're really stoked about trying to use both the playbook in conjunction with the sprint and hopefully have some really good things come out of the sprint. So not just give us feedback on the playbook and not just make you better, but make your community, your company, the world even better.
And so this is also a call out to community for anyone who's a ghostwriter, right? We're looking for people who want to come in and clean up that playbook so it's simplified, like have a fresh perspective, because at the end of the day, we want it to be usable. We want it to be consistent. We've had beautiful minds create this together, but now we're waiting to get it out there in the world.
I think it's important to mention that part of the integration of the sprint, the playbook, the gamification is that no matter how you learn or what support you need in becoming exponential, the EXI project is having a kick at the can at making sure if you learn well through reading, fantastic, we're going to have a playbook. If you really need a lot of peer-to-peer mentoring and coaching to do the work and keep you on track, that's really the sprint alley. And the gamification will be a long game, meaning it's something that you can do. It's really fun. It will be, again, there will be peer-to-peer. We'll have similar language. So people who are participating at each level know and can support each other in becoming exponential. So regardless of how you learn, we should have a tool ready for you at the EXI project. One thing I want to bring up is in our discovery so far, what are some of the barriers to self-awareness and that people are facing right now?
I would say just being too caught up in the routine, responsibilities, obligations. You don't make the time because you're not even aware that there could be better. You don't know. No one's ever told you. And I think it goes back to the start of this podcast where we were talking about how things are so, dramatically shifting on many fronts. And it can be really daunting. People are just getting caught up in being productive and keeping up with the pace that they don't necessarily see that it starts from within to maneuver everything, all this chaos, all the changes. You're going to have to get familiar with yourself, and getting familiar with yourself, if you've never done it before, can be extremely uncomfortable. And so we want to help people, simplify that process. Okay, here are a couple of tools that you could potentially use, or this could be a potential pathway. Like you said, if someone's more, is better playing a game, like if that attracts them, right? And they're not the reader sort, well, then maybe that will be their avenue. But how could we come up with different pathways to get people into deeper self-awareness?
Eric, you're aware of any other major barriers?
Yeah, I mean, I would echo a lot of, I think, what Ann was just talking about, and especially, for those of us that are maybe a little bit more left brain in the engineering IT type, right? Like, we don't have time for that kind of stuff, right? But in fact, you need to make time for that kind of stuff, right? And this is where, as we saw in our MTP, right? This is about, we had self-awareness right in there as well, right? So it's like so many people are in that first quadrant. They don't know where they don't even know, right? So it's hard to get out of that and make your way through the other quadrants. So we're hoping that between the playbook and, certainly this is not about a one size or one path fits all, right? It's about options and having tools, as Ann was talking about, right? And realizing that, to get to the end state, right? That's the important part. The means on how you get there and when you get there is, it's up to you. We're all individual, right? But certainly to be able to spend more time on yourself, starting with awareness and consciousness and intuition is like a great way to start.
And I think an important point to add there is that you can take the horse to the water, but you cannot make the horse drink, right? And I think there's this internal calling that people have. It cycles in our life. And sometimes we're just caught up in life, and the lessons come to us and maybe we're not taking them in because we're in this hamster wheel. And so I go to Joseph Campbell's, hero's journey. And I love that, right? Like the way he talks about each individual getting this calling. There's a pull that asks us to stop for a moment. Oh, maybe we're not feeling too well. Maybe our health starts taking a back seat, right? And we can feel it, like our back hurts or we start getting migraines. We don't know why this is happening. Why is this happening? Potentially because you're not giving yourself any of that breathing room, right? So our body actually picks up on these emotions and they store the emotions. So I think the calling to self-awareness, if we're not going to do it proactively, it's going to come to us and we're then going to react to it and say, okay, I need to stop for a moment and I need to look within. I need to see what's going on with me. And that's when changes start to happen, sometimes slowly, and sometimes it's a big slap in the face. And that's when you go, whoa, okay, maybe I need to really reflect.
I love that you brought in the body factor. And I think I described some of the other barriers as below the line states of being. Anything below the line, if you're in a position of boredom or fear or anger, resentment, things like that, it's very difficult to be to go above the line and be innovative and creative and in healthy relationship. So I think if anybody is finding themselves below the line in some of those states, or you've had people say to you, I think you might have a bit of a victim mentality or you don't feel in control of your own destiny. As Ann said, feeling health issues. And perhaps if you've got a scarcity mindset, getting into the abundant mindset, which is there is so much wealth and positive energy in the world. You just have to go out and get it and attract it to you is really, for me as well, what about what being exponential is all about. I would like to, Anne, you already called to action about the sub teams, but let's just once again, what are our call to actions? How would we love people to follow up with us post podcast?
Yeah, I think, besides the someone needed for the playbook, like we're gathering people to be ghostwriters. I mean, we want people to join the team. There's so much to do, right? Like we're building out a game. We want the youth to be involved because I really want to stress that this is an intergenerational project. And if we're building out a game, we need people from all generations to pitch into that, the people who are going to play it, like who are the customers, who are the users, right? And if they're the ones building it, we're going to build something that's worthwhile. So we want, people who are in the space of gamification. Maybe you've already launched your game business and you've sold it. Like we have someone on our team who's done that, and he's amazing at consulting on a gaming level. But we need some builders to come support in regard to coding, in regard to prototyping this game. And we would love to have youth onboarded for that. So from a game squad perspective, definitely need talent on the coding front, prototyping the game front, building out avatars, all that creative, fun stuff. And we want the youth to do that with us. So that's a shout out to anyone who's working with universities, schools, communities, incubators that are helping young entrepreneurs on their journey. That would be great to try and bring some of those young entrepreneurs in. But then even from a playbook perspective, if anyone's deeply immersed in the space of self-development and they want to take a stab at creating a playbook for humanity to evolve, you're welcome to jump on board there as well.
Eric, would you like to add?
Yeah, no, I think those are sort of the hot irons we have in the fire now. And then in the coming weeks and months, there'll be even more, like we still need to figure out what is the evolution of EXI itself, right? And like what's the format of that organizationally, right? How are we going to represent the entity? And then, we talked about a little bit about a DAO, right? And, like maybe that's in the future. There could be tokens. I mean, there's really all possibilities are open. It's up to the participants, the members of EXI, to make those decisions, just like how a distributed autonomous organization works.
So if you are an influencer and an exponential individual yourself, and you'd like to help shape the future of self-awareness and human optimization being the norm, we would love to hear from you. And what is the best way to get a hold of either you, Anne, or Eric, or to actually get a hold of the EXI Project post-podcast?
I think that, people from the OpenExO community, Eric's got a post in there, and I think we've got a circle, if I'm not mistaken, but then, you can catch us on LinkedIn as well. I think when the podcast is shared, there will be a link provided where you can sign up to the EXI co-creation team, and then we will review that, get in touch with you, and onboard you onto the project.
Awesome. Well, this has been an exciting project to be a part of, and we are coming up to the annual anniversary event, which is coming up at the end of this week in March. And I'm assuming this will be an ongoing annual event to talk about the evolution of the project and the success and the case studies that we have. So if any of the initiatives sounded excited, if you don't want to necessarily be part of the co-creation team, but you'd like to participate, read the book, participate in a sprint for yourself. Again, I encourage you to sign up for the EXI project, and you can share with us at that point that your intent is really to participate as opposed to co-create on an ongoing basis. So either, we welcome all of those inputs. Anne, Eric, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. Do you have any final sort of takeaway momentums or words of wisdom for our listeners?
Well, firstly, thank you, Ange, for your energy, right? Like your zest is amazing, and we love your support on the EXI initiative. And having said that, that's really one of the takeaways is the EXI initiative is to help people tap into that energy, right? To show up in that manner in the world so that people can feed off this energy and we can build beautiful things. So come on board the ExI initiative and learn how to tap into that great energy. As you can see, Ann just got over here. So, so yes, thank you for having me with you.
Eric?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks very much, Angie, as well. It's been amazing not only to see the project evolve over time, but the people. And you see that on every call we have. And some of our secret sauce that we do at the beginning of the meetings and under Ann's leadership. And I just wanted to thank Ann and Kevin, the fellow co-founders of ExI, for kind of sticking with this and making just all this magic happen. And as they say, I think we're just really just getting started. So looking forward to having many more of you join us on board.
It's a dream team, Eric. Thank you for being you. You said the word friendship, and our friendship is what has made this baby blossom. So thank you.
The NextGen Economy Podcast is brought to you by EXO Angels and sponsored by Island 17, Dream Tank, EXO Economy, and Futureville. Visit us at nextgen-economy.com.
NextGen Economy Podcast, accelerating breakthroughs.